Hey there, Fisher Elementary, Mrs. Tagg and Cubby here, and we are coming to you to read to you the next part of Chapter 6 in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. If you've noticed, we've kind of changed where we're at a little bit. I've opened up a different office inside my house, and it's a cozier place to read to you guys. So let's get to it, okay? Let me find a good spot for Cubby. We'll see you later. Say bye, Cubby. Bye. Get a good spot for him to go, and then we can go ahead and read the next part of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Now we're on Chapter 6. If you remember last time, Harry had just gotten on the Hogwarts Express. Remember, he found Platform 9 and Platform 10 and was able to go through Platform 9 3/4 with the help of the Weasley family. And now he's on the train. So let's continue. Harry watched the girl and her mother disappear as the train rounded the corner. Houses flashed past the window. Harry felt a great leap of excitement. He didn't know what was going on, but it had to be better than what he left behind. The door of the compartment slid open and the youngest red-headed boy came in. "Anyone sitting there?" he asked, pointing at the seat opposite Harry. "Everywhere else is full." Harry shook his head and the boy sat down. He glanced at Harry and then looked quickly out of the window, pretending he hadn't looked. Harry saw he still had that black mark on his nose. "Hey, Ron," the twins were back. "Listen, we're going down to the middle of the train. Lee Jordan's got a giant tarantula down there." "Right," mumbled Ron. "Harry," said the other twin, "did we introduce ourselves? Fred and George Weasley, and this is Ron, our brother. See you later, then." "Bye," said Harry and Ron. The twins slid the compartment door shut behind them. "Are you really Harry Potter?" Ron blurted out. Harry nodded. "Oh, well, I thought it might be one of Fred and George's jokes," said Ron. "Have you really got, He pointed to Harry's forehead. Harry pulled back his bangs to show the lightning scar. Ron stared. "Oh, so that's where you know who?" "Yes," said Harry, "but I can't remember it." "Nothing?" said Ron eagerly. "Well, I remember a lot of green light, but nothing else." "Wow," said Ron. He sat and stared at Harry for a few moments. Then, as though he had suddenly realized what he was doing, he looked quickly out the window again. "Are all your family wizards?" asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron had found him. Yeah, I think so," said Ron. "I think Mum's got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we never talk about him." "So you must know loads of magic already," said Harry. The Weasleys were clearly one of those old wizarding families that pale boy in Diagon Alley had talked about. "I heard you went to live with Muggles," said Ron. "What are they like?" "Horrible. Well, not all of them. My aunt and uncle and cousin are, though. Wish I'd had 3 wizarding brothers." "5, said Ron. For some reason, he was looking gloomy. "I'm the 6th in our family to go to Hogwarts. You could say I've got a lot to live up to. Bill and Charlie have already left. Bill was head boy and Charlie was captain of Quidditch. Now Percy's a prefect. Fred and George mess around a lot, but they still got really good marks and everyone thinks they're really funny. Everyone expects me to do well as the others, but if I do, it's no big deal because they did it first. You never get anything new either with 5 brothers. I've got Bill's old robes, Charlie's old wand, and Percy's old rat." Ron reached inside his pocket and pulled out a fat gray rat, which was asleep. "His name's Scabbers, and he is useless. He hardly ever wakes up. Percy's got an owl from my dad for being a prefect, but they couldn't I got Scabbers instead." Ron's ears went pink. He seemed to think he said too much because he went back to staring out the window. Harry didn't think there was anything wrong with not being able to afford an owl. After all, he'd never had any money in his life until a month ago, and he told Ron so, all about having to wear Dudley's old clothes and never getting proper birthday presents. This seemed to cheer Ron up. "And until Hagrid told me, I didn't know anything about the wizarding world or about my parents or Voldemort." Ron gasped. "What?" said Harry. "You said you know whose name," said Ron, sounding both shocked and impressed. "I'd have thought you, of all people." Well, I'm not trying to be brave or anything saying the name, said Harry. I just never knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I've got loads to learn, I bet, he added, voicing for the first time something he had been worrying about a lot lately. I bet I'm the worst in the class. Oh, you won't be. There's loads of people who come from Muggle families, and they learn quick enough. While they had been talking, the train had carried them out of London. They were now speeding past fields full of cows and sheep. They were quiet for a time, watching the fields and lanes flick past. Around 12:30, there was a great clattering in the corridor, and a smiling, dimpled woman slid back their door and said, "Anything off the carts, dears?" Harry, who hadn't had any breakfast, leaped to his feet, but Ron's ears went pink again, and he muttered that he'd brought sandwiches. Harry went out into the corridor. He had never had any money for candy with the Dursleys, and now that his pockets rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many Mars bars as he could carry. But the woman didn't have Mars bars. What she did have were Bertie Bott's every flavor beans, Drubel's best blowing gum, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pasties, cauldron cakes, licorice wands, and a number of very strange things Harry had never seen in his life. Not wanting to miss anything, he got some of everything and paid the woman 11 silver sickles and 7 bronze knuts. Ron stared as Harry brought it all back to the compartment and tipped it into an empty seat. "Hungry, are you?" "Starving," said Harry, taking a large bite out of a pumpkin pasty. Ron had taken out a lumpy package and unwrapped it. There were 4 sandwiches inside. He pulled one of them apart and said, "Oh, she always forgets I don't like corned beef." "Swap you for one of these," said Harry, holding up a pasty. "Go on." "Oh, you don't want this. It's all dry," said Ron. "She hasn't got much time," he added quickly. With 5 of us. "Go on, have a pasty," said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, and indeed anyone to share it with. It was a nice feeling sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all Harry's pasties, cakes, and candies. The sandwiches lay forgotten. "What are these?" Harry asked Ron, holding up a pack of chocolate frogs. "They're not really frogs, are they?" He was starting to feel that nothing would surprise him. "No," said Ron, "but see what the card is. I'm missing Agrippa." "What?" "Oh, of course you wouldn't know. Chocolate frogs have cards inside them, to collect. Famous witches and wizards. I've got about 500, but I haven't got Agrippa or Ptolemy." Harry unwrapped his chocolate frog and picked up the card. It showed a man's face. He wore half-moon glasses, had a long, crooked nose, and flowing silver hair, a beard, and a mustache. Underneath the picture was the name Albus Dumbledore. "Oh, so this is Dumbledore," said Harry. "Don't tell me you've never heard of Dumbledore," said Ron. "Can I have a frog? I might get Agrippa. Thanks." Harry turned over his card and read, "Albus Dumbledore, currently headmaster of Hogwarts. Considered by many the greatest wizard of modern times, Dumbledore is particularly famous for his defeat of dark wizard Grindelwald in 1945, for the discovery of the 12 uses of dragon's blood, and his work on alchemy with his partner, Nicholas Flamel. Professor Dumbledore enjoys chamber music and 10-pin bowling." Harry turned the card back over and saw, to his astonishment, that Dumbledore's face had disappeared. "He's gone." "Well, you can't expect him to hang around all day," said Ron. "He'll be back." "No, I've got Morgana again, and I've got about 6 of her. Do you want it? You can start collecting." Ron's eyes strayed to the pile of chocolate frogs waiting to be unwrapped. "Help yourself," said Harry. "But in, the Muggle world, people just stay put in photos." "Do they? What? They don't move at all?" Ron sounded amazed. "Weird." Harry stared as Dumbledore sidled back into the picture on his card and gave him a small smile. Ron was more interested in eating the frogs than looking at the famous witches and wizards cards, but Harry couldn't keep his eyes off them. Soon he had not only Dumbledore and Morgana and Hengist of Woodcroft, Alberic Grunion, Circe, Pericles, and Merlin. He finally tore his eyes away from the druidess Sionda, who was scratching her nose. to open a bag of Bertie Bott's every flavor beans. And that is where we're going to stop. So I hope you're enjoying the story. I absolutely love this book. And this part's especially fun when Harry's on the train with Ron and gets to see all this wizarding stuff for the very first time. So until next time, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the weather. Be kind to each other. Read. And I will see you next week. Bye.